Right now, Piers Morgan, a close personal friend of Queen Camilla, has just revealed that no members of the royal family, including King Charles, will speak to Prince Harry or Meghan Markle at all. All contact has been cut. According to Piers, a royal insider who you'll also remember hangs out quite a bit with Beatrice and Eugenie, the princess daughters of Andrew. I want to take you through exactly what Piers told the US broadcaster, good friend of mine, Meghan Kelly, because he's also branded Meghan Markle a nasty little bully. You won't get any disagreement from me there. We're going to get analysis from the editor of the Royal News Network, Brittany, in just a moment. But Brittany, first, we've got to watch along together because this is a bombshell after bombshell interview from Piers to Meghan.
It says that they're all about compassion. They're compassionate people. They're also all about mental health and helping people with mental health. They've been very vocal about that recently, about the perils of online trolling and the effect it has on people's mental health. And yet here we are with Vanity Fair, the Hollywood Bible, the thing that Meghan was most thrilled about getting the cover of a few years ago when she got engaged to Harry, which went down very badly with the palace at the time, I can tell you. But now it reveals that actually she in particular is a nasty little bully who sends staff into therapy. Think about that for a moment. This also follows all the stories about her bullying staff over here in the UK,
many broken by
which is unresolved. NDAs stopped all that stuff coming out, but she bullied people in a very unpleasant way over here. So it's no surprise to people who work at Buckingham Palace. They saw and witnessed all this here. So I just showed, look, they're a pair of hypocrites, they're a pair of chancers, as the Spotify guy called them, a pair of effing grifters. And they're desperately trying to maintain some kind of future as a renegade royal couple when they're no longer part of the royal family. The royals don't talk to them. The king does not talk to his own son. None of the senior royals talk to these two. They are total pariahs in the family because the only currency they have is trashing the royal family and the monarchy. And every time they try and do something else, nobody cares. No one cared about their podcast series. Nobody cared about the polo series recently. Nobody cared about any of it. All they want to hear is the dirt. And these two, for 5 years, have reveled and wallowed in royal dirt for vast amounts of money. And that's what makes Prince Harry's ongoing campaign against the UK newspapers, which had another flare-up this week, so laughably hypocritical.
Picture this moment. A father, battling cancer, refuses to speak to his own son. Not a word, not a phone call, not even a text. This isn't some family squabble over holiday dinners. This is King Charles III, the monarch of Britain, completely cutting off Prince Harry and Meghan Markle from the royal family. And according to Piers Morgan, who just revealed this bombshell to the world, every single senior royal has followed suit. William, Catherine, Camilla, they've all gone silent. Total radio silence. The man who broke this story isn't just any gossip columnist. Piers Morgan is Queen Camilla's close personal friend. He regularly dines with Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie. When he speaks about the royals, he's not speculating. He's revealing what the palace whispers behind closed doors. And what he just told Meghan Kelly on American television should send shockwaves through Montecito. The royals don't talk to them, Piers declared with the kind of certainty that only comes from insider knowledge. The king does not talk to his own son. None of the senior royals talk to these two. They are total pariahs in the family. Let those words sink in. Total pariahs, not estranged, not distant. Pariahs, cast out completely from the institution they once represented. But here's where the story takes an even darker turn. While Charles battles cancer, a diagnosis that should bring any family together, Harry remains thousands of miles away in California, locked out not just physically, but emotionally from his father's life. When Harry flew to London after the diagnosis, he got 30 minutes. 30 minutes with his dying father. No photos, no warmth, no reconciliation. Just a brief, cold meeting that Queen Camilla reportedly urged Charles to keep as short as possible. The Queen herself has become Charles's guardian, protecting him from what she sees as the toxic influence of his younger son. Sources close to the palace reveal Camilla actively advises Charles to maintain distance, believing any contact with Harry only damages the king's health during his cancer battle. Imagine that, A stepmother so concerned about her husband's well-being that she blocks access to his own son. Meanwhile, in California, Meghan Markle's carefully constructed image is crumbling faster than a sandcastle at high. Vanity Fair, the very magazine that once celebrated her engagement with a glowing cover story, just published a devastating exposé. The Hollywood Bible, as Piers calls it, revealed something that palace insiders have whispered about for years. Meghan Markle, the woman who preaches compassion and mental health awareness, allegedly sends her own staff into therapy. The article painted a picture of a workplace so toxic that employees literally needed psychological help to cope. Think about the irony here. This is the same woman who goes on podcasts talking about kindness, who launched a website claiming to be all about compassion, who positions herself as a mental health advocate. Yet behind closed doors, according to multiple sources, she creates an environment so hostile that professional therapy becomes necessary for survival. She's a nasty little bully, Piers stated bluntly, his words cutting through the California sunshine like a blade. And he's not alone in this assessment. The Spotify executive who called them fucking grifters after their podcast deal collapsed. The Netflix executives reportedly frustrated with their output. The palace staff who signed NDAs but whose stories still leak through like water through cracked walls. The bullying allegations aren't new, but they're getting harder to ignore. During her time at Kensington Palace, multiple staff members reportedly filed complaints. The investigation was buried. The results never published, NDAs keeping the truth locked away. But the pattern continues in California. Different coast, same story. Staff turnover so high it's become a running joke in Montecito circles. The question isn't who's leaving Team Sussex next, but how long anyone can last. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared the public for what happened during the California wildfires. As Los Angeles burned, as 12,000 families lost their homes, as communities turned to ash, Harry and Meghan made a decision that defied comprehension. They drove 2 hours into an active fire zone, not to volunteer quietly, not to help anonymously, but to be photographed. Think about that journey. 2 hours of driving toward danger, toward devastation, toward human tragedy. Not because they lived there, not because they had friends in immediate danger, but because they needed content. They needed to be seen. In the midst of California's worst natural disaster, they saw an opportunity for publicity. The mayor of Pasadena actually took time away from coordinating emergency response to give them a tour. First responders, who should have been saving lives, became props in their disaster tourism. They hugged victims for cameras, while homes still smoldered in the background. They wore their Archewell caps like badges of honor, while families sifted through ashes, looking for memories. Justin Bateman, the actress and filmmaker, voiced what millions were thinking when she pointed out the grotesque nature of their photo op. These fire sites could have contained human remains. Bodies could have been in those ashes, yet there stood Harry and Meghan, posing for pictures, treating tragedy like a red carpet event. The backlash was swift and merciless. Even their usual defenders fell silent. How do you defend the indefensible? How do you spin disaster tourism into humanitarian work? The answer is, you don't. You retreat. You go into what sources now call hermit mode. According to Radar Online, Meghan has essentially disappeared from public view, wounded by the criticism, unable to understand why the public turned on her. Harry reportedly tells her to ignore it, to rise above it. But the damage is done. Their reputation in California, already fragile, has shattered completely. And then there's With Love, Meghan, her cooking show. Sweet mercy, the timing couldn't be worse. As thousands of Californians live in evacuation centers, as families sleep in their cars because their homes are gone, Meghan wants to invite us into her $16 million Montecito kitchen to watch her make artisanal jam with celebrity friends. Netflix reportedly pushed the release from January to March, desperately hoping the public might forget. But how do you forget this level of tone deafness? How do you watch someone prance around a mansion kitchen, talking about the importance of presentation and gathering, while your neighbors are gathering at food banks because they lost everything? The show was supposed to be Meghan's Martha Stewart moment. Instead, it's become her Marie Antoinette moment. Let them eat cake, replaced with, let them watch me cook. But perhaps the most revealing aspect of this entire saga isn't what Meghan does, it's how she speaks. A recent viral video analysis exposed something fascinating and deeply unsettling. Meghan's voice has transformed dramatically over the years. Not evolved, transformed, like she's playing different characters for different audiences. Listen to early Meghan, the Suits actress, speaking in her natural higher register, casual and relatable. Then Meghan, the royal fiancée, suddenly dropping an octave, adding British inflections, speaking slowly and deliberately like she's auditioning for Downton Abbey. Then post-Megxit Meghan, the voice shifting again. Now a strange hybrid of California wellness guru and displaced royal, neither authentic nor consistent. Voice experts note these aren't natural changes that come with age or circumstance. These are deliberate affectations, conscious choices to project different personas. The tragedy is that nobody knows which voice, if any, is real. Who is the real Meghan Markle? After all these years, all these interviews, all these revelations, we still don't know. She's become a shapeshifter, adapting her personality to whatever she thinks will sell. It's about being authentic, she said in one interview, apparently without irony, in a voice completely different from the one she used the week before. The woman who preaches authenticity has become the embodiment of artifice. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, the real royals were doing what royals actually do. Catherine, Princess Wales, fresh from her own cancer battle, stood in a London reception room, embracing Holocaust survivors. No cameras from Netflix, no staged photos, just genuine human connection at a moment of historical importance. The woman Catherine hugged, a survivor of unimaginable horror, later described meeting the princess as like reuniting with an old friend. That's the difference. Catherine doesn't need to manufacture authenticity. She doesn't need voice coaching or PR strategies. She shows up, she listens, she serves. King Charles, still battling cancer, flew to Auschwitz for the 80th anniversary of its liberation, the first British monarch to ever visit that site of unimaginable evil. He stood in the freezing cold, tears in his eyes, bearing witness to humanity's darkest chapter. No publicity team needed to explain why he was there. No one questioned his motives. This is what Harry and Meghan never understood. Being royal isn't about celebrity. It's not about Instagram seguaners or Netflix deals or podcast contracts. It's about service. Quiet, consistent, unglamorous service. It's about using your platform to amplify voices that might otherwise go unheard. It's about showing up for your nation's most important moments. Not for the cameras, but because it matters. Harry once understood this. The soldier prince who served in Afghanistan, who created the Invictus Games, who could connect with veterans and children with equal ease. That Harry is gone, replaced by someone who hawks his family's secrets for $30 million, who writes books revealing private conversations with his dying grandfather, who turns his mother's memory into a marketing tool. The tragedy isn't just that Harry lost his family, it's that he lost himself. The man who once walked behind his mother's coffin with dignity now exploits her death for sympathy and profit. The prince who once protected his brother's secrets now exposes them for public consumption. The son who once respected his father's position now undermines it at every opportunity. And for what? Money they didn't need, fame they already had, freedom they could have negotiated. The truth is simpler and sadder. They wanted to be royal on their own terms. They wanted the titles, without the duties, the privileges without the responsibilities, the platform without the service. They wanted to be celebrities who happened to be royal, rather than royals who happened to be famous. The California dream has become a nightmare. The Spotify deal collapsed in humiliation. Netflix grows increasingly frustrated with their output. Their Archie Well Foundation operates in relative obscurity. Their attempts at political influence have failed. Their celebrity friendships are reportedly cooling as the toxicity of association becomes apparent. Even their neighbors in Montecito reportedly keep their distance. The initial excitement of having royals in the neighborhood has given way to exhaustion with the drama, the security, the constant media attention. They've become the couple everyone invites out of obligation, but hopes won't actually show up. The financial pressure must be mounting. The mortgage on their mansion. The security costs that Harry claims run into millions. The staff they can't seem to keep. The lifestyle they can't sustain without the constant injection of royal drama. They're trapped in a cage of their own making, forced to keep selling the only thing anyone wants to buy, their connection to the crown. But that well is running dry. How many times can you tell the same story? How many ways can you repackage the same grievances? How many documentaries can you make about leaving a family you can't stop talking about? The public is tired. The media is bored. Even their supporters are drifting away. Which brings us back to that deafening silence from London. Charles's refusal to engage isn't cruelty, it's strategy. Every conversation becomes potential content. Every meeting risks being monetized. Every gesture of reconciliation could end up in another book, another interview, another documentary. The monarchy has survived for over 1,000 years by adapting, by knowing when to bend and when to stand firm. This is a moment for standing firm. Charles understands something Harry doesn't. The institution is bigger than any individual, even his own son. The crown will pass to William, then to George. Long after this California drama is forgotten. But Charles isn't just protecting the institution, he's protecting himself. A man facing mortality doesn't need the stress of constant betrayal. A king fighting cancer doesn't need the distraction of family drama. A father's heart might break, but a monarch's resolve must hold. Sources say Charles has found peace in his decision. The initial pain has given way to acceptance. The son he once knew is gone, replaced by someone he doesn't recognize. The daughter-in-law he welcomed has revealed herself as someone incompatible with royal life. The grandchildren he barely knows grow up as Americans, strangers to their heritage. William, meanwhile, has reportedly been the strongest voice for maintaining the silence. He lost a brother long before Charles lost a son. The future king will not risk his children's stability for Harry's redemption. Catherine, having faced her own mortality, has no patience for those who create unnecessary drama. She focuses on recovery, on her children, on preparing to be queen. Harry and Meghan don't even register in her daily thoughts. The extended royal family has followed suit. Beatrice and Eugenie, once Harry's closest cousins, maintain their distance. Even Prince Andrew, hardly a model of royal behavior, reportedly avoids association with the Sussexes. When Andrew won't return your calls, you know you've hit rock bottom. But perhaps the most telling sign of their complete exile is the absence of birthday wishes. The palace, which marks every minor royal milestone, ignored Harry's birthday. No Instagram post, no tweet, no acknowledgement that he even exists. In royal terms, that's not just a snub, it's an erasure. The British public, meanwhile, has moved on. The initial fascination has turned to indifference, occasionally flaring into irritation when the Sussexes resurface with another complaint or revelation. The polls consistently show Harry and Meghan at the bottom of royal popularity, below even Andrew. That takes effort. Americans, initially charmed by having real royals in residence, are beginning to understand what the British already knew. Harry and Meghan aren't refugees from an oppressive system. They're not modernizers bringing fresh air to a stuffy institution. They're not even rebels with a cause. They're simply two people who wanted everything without earning anything, who confused privilege with oppression, who mistook criticism for persecution. The irony is that they could have had it all: a meaningful role in the monarchy, a platform for genuine change, the resources to make a real difference, international respect and admiration. All they had to do was serve, to put duty before self, to understand that with great privilege comes great responsibility. Instead, they chose California. They chose Netflix. They chose to monetize family pain and institutional secrets. They chose celebrity over service, fame over duty, money over family. These were choices, not circumstances forced upon them. Now they live in exile of their own making. Rich, but not wealthy. Famous, but not respected. Free, but not fulfilled. They have everything they said they wanted, and nothing they actually need. The mansion feels empty. The titles ring hollow. The future stretches ahead, year after year of irrelevance, punctuated by desperate attempts to reclaim attention. Harry will wake up one day, perhaps he already has, and realize what he's lost. Not just his family, though that's devastating enough. Not just his purpose, though that's soul-crushing, but his identity. He's no longer the soldier prince, the royal rebel with a heart, the bridge between tradition and modernity. He's just another wealthy resident of Montecito with a famous wife and a complicated past. Meghan will continue reinventing herself, trying on personas like designer dresses, never quite finding one that fits. The actress, the royal, the activist, the influencer, the lifestyle guru, all performances, none authentic. She'll keep speaking about compassion while showing none, preaching authenticity while practicing artifice, demanding privacy while courting publicity. Their children will grow up, American, disconnected from their royal heritage, known more for their parents' drama than their own achievements. They'll carry titles that mean nothing in California, surnames that open no doors in America, and the burden of a family feud they didn't create but must navigate. The saddest part? It didn't have to be this way. Every step toward this exile was a choice. Every bridge, burned, was torched deliberately. Every relationship destroyed was sacrificed for money or attention, or perceived slights. They authored their own tragedy, then blamed everyone else for the plot. King Charles will likely never speak to Harry again. Not out of anger, though he has every right to that. Not out of hurt, though the wounds run deep. But out of wisdom. He knows that some relationships become too toxic to maintain, some betrayals too profound to forgive, some patterns too entrenched to break. The silence from London isn't punishment, it's peace. It's the royal family choosing stability over drama, duty over dysfunction, future over past. It's an institution that has survived Vikings and Nazis, civil wars and scandals, choosing to survive Harry and Meghan too. History will not be kind to the Sussexes. They'll be remembered not as modernizers but as deserters, not as victims but as aggressors, not as heroes but as cautionary tales about what happens when privilege is confused with oppression, when opportunity is squandered for opportunism, when family becomes commodity. But history will remember Charles's dignity in the face of betrayal, William's steadiness, despite losing a brother, Catherine's grace, while battling cancer and criticism. The working royals who carried on serving while the circus played out in California. The monarchy will survive this, as it has survived everything else. The crown will pass from Charles to William, the institution will adapt and endure. The service will continue. Harry and Meghan will become footnotes, cautionary tales told to future generations about the cost of choosing celebrity over duty. In Montecito, the phones don't ring from London anymore. The birthday wishes don't come. Invitations don't arrive. The silence is complete and probably permanent. This isn't a family taking a break. This is a family closing a door and walking away. The boy who once walked behind his mother's coffin, holding his father's hand, now walks alone, separated by an ocean of his own making, wealthy in everything except what matters. The actress who thought she was joining a fairy tale discovered she was just another character in an institutional drama far bigger than her role. And somewhere in London, a king fights cancer, surrounded by those who chose duty over drama, service over self, the crown over California. The silence from his younger son's direction isn't cold, it's self-preservation. Sometimes the greatest act of love is letting go. Sometimes the only way to heal is to stop reopening wounds. Sometimes silence says more than words ever could. The exile is complete. The bridges are ash. The fairy tale has ended, not with reconciliation but with silence. And in that silence, both sides have found their truth. The royals have found peace. The Sussexes have found fame. Neither got what they needed, but both got what they chose. This is where the story ends. Not with a bang, but with silence. Not with reconciliation, but with resignation. Not with hope, but with acceptance. The royal family moves forward without Harry and Meghan. Harry and Meghan move forward without the royal family, and the Atlantic Ocean has never